Hi all, good morning as usual. So today we are going to start our third module, which is romantic criticism. So can you tell me some characteristics of romantic age? Romantic age was an age in which there was always an individuality. There was an expression of individuality. Every writing turned to the individual. That was more subjective approach. But in new classical age or the previous age, you can see that there was a different aspect. Everything was objective and everything was taken in measurement with age, enlightenment, reason, etc. But in the case of romantic age, reason and enlightenment was not there, was not prevalent. Everything was challenged, everything was taken into consideration, everything was studied on the basis of those aspects of life which was taken as very sincere. So you can see that romantic age as such was very different from the previous neoclassical period. Another one aspect of romantic age was that there was always a revitalization or revival of the medieval romances. There was always the medieval romances of knighthood and chivalry that was there, and that can be seen in Keats's poem La Belle Dame Sans Mercy. The poem La Belle Dame Sans Mercy says about a dream in which John Keats has seen a very virtuous lady, a very beautiful maiden, and he himself is a knight in that. And this lady takes him into a cave in which he is taken care of very well, and of course towards the last this lady jilts him or he cheats him, and she just fades away. And this is the main storyline of La Belle Dame Sans Mercy. So you can see that knighthood, chivalry and chivalric aspect always used to have a kind of devotion here. So, according to knighthood and chivalry, you can see that the medieval romances gained more rebirth or revitalization in the romantic age. So, just like the neoclassical period revived the classical periods or the Augustan age, romantic age or romantic period revitalized the medieval romances of the period. Now, going into the romantic criticism. The Romantic age can be said to have begun from 1798 and approximately to 1830. Actually, it ended towards 1832 with the death of Sir Walter Scott. Sir Walter Scott was a famous novelist during that period. So, this particular romantic age is said to have begun from 1798. Can you tell me the important aspect of the romantic age? Romantic age was inspired by the French Revolution. The French Revolution, which took place in 1789. Don't confuse 1798 and 1789. 1789, there was the French Revolution of liberty, equality, and fraternity, and inspired from that, the Romantic age began with the publication of the lyrical ballads in 1798. And who published the lyrical ballads? The lyrical ballads was published by William Wordsworth and S.T. Coleridge, is it? Yes. But you can see that the lyrical ballads, even though it was a brainchild of S.T. Coleridge, that is Samuel Taylor Coleridge and William Wordsworth, you can see that the lyrical ballads is known by solely by the name of William Wordsworth. And after writing lyrical ballads, you can see that Samuel Taylor Coleridge, he began to rethink about the lyrical ballads. He came to know that whatever is written in the lyrical ballads is not proper, and therefore he wrote the famous critical piece Biographia Literaria in the year 1870. So keeping all these apart, we are keeping this all these apart, and now we are sitting here without knowing anything about the romantic age. You're just starting what is romantic age. You don't know what is romantic age. So here we are going to start a class based on the romantic age. So as I've told you earlier, a moment earlier, I've told you that the lyrical ballads started or triggered the romantic age. That is something that you should have to keep in your mind. The lyrical ballads, the preface to the lyrical ballads, it was written in 1798, and lyrical ballads, it was refurbished and written in 1800. So, lyrical ballads, it was first written in 1798, but later it was renamed as preface to lyrical ballads. Okay, and that again, the lyrical ballads was refurbished and it was written in 1800. But here you can see that the preface to the lyrical ballads or the lyrical ballads as such is given the date as 1798, and this was the age in which the romantic period began. Now, the romanticism or the romantic movement is a literary movement and profound shift in sensibility which took place in Britain and throughout Europe from 1770 to 1848. There was novel thoughts that came there. But even though the period begun in 1770, yet you can see the official confirmation of this period was 1798. Okay. Intellectually, with the thoughts, you can see that it was a violent reaction against the previous age, which is the neoclassical age. So it was a violent reaction or response to the previous neoclassical age or the age of enlightenment. And you can see that politically it was inspired by the French Revolution and the other revolutions that took place in America, just like the Boston Tea Party, American Civil War, and so on. So everywhere you can see that there was an individual assertion, there was a liberal freedom, there was a quench for individuality and freedom of expression that was prominent in each and every revolution of this age. Emotionally, you can see that there was an assertion of self as well as individuality here. And officially it began in 1798 with the publication of lyrical ballads by William Wordsworth and Samuel Taylor Coleridge. Officially it ended with the death of Sir Walter Scott in 1832. Do you know what is the importance of Sir Walter Scott? Sir Walter Scott was a famous novelist who gave more importance to the medieval romances in his works. There was always a revitalization or rebirth of the medieval romances, just like Ivanhoe, etc., in his works. Okay, there was always somebody just like Sir King Arthur or the Knights at the Round Table, and such works were always fascinated by Sir Walter Scott. Now, based on romanticism, you can see that it focused mainly on imagination, freedom of expression, and emotion. There was always imagination that came into the forefront. Imagination, that was romance. Romance doesn't mean love. Romance is imagination, romantic. It was imagination, freedom, and emotion that came into play in this type of works. Now here I've just made a slide based on the differences that you can categorize based on the differences of neoclassical age as well as the romantic age. Now, depending upon this table, I would like to say that neoclassical age, you can see that it was the age of reason. Romanticism, it was the age of feelings and imagination. Then, in the neoclassical age, there was always importance to the city life and artificiality, whereas in romanticism, you can see that there was an interest in truth and rural life. And therefore, you can see that there was something like a subjective poetry in Romanticism, whereas in Neoclassicism it was impersonal and objective. Now, scientific life was looked upon with interest. By whom? By the Neoclassicists, because they always gave importance to what? Importance to the logic and reason. Whereas in Romanticism, you can see that the interest was on the mysterious and infinite life. Now, going to the characteristics of the Romantic era, can see that common people was given more importance. There was no importance to people who were in the much more privileged stage, just like king and queen, who were given more importance, lady, etc., we were given more importance. They were totally banished, because Romantic age gave more importance to the simple life or the ordinary people. Then emotions ruled out the reason. Nature overpowered the artificial stage. There was always naturality. It was given more importance. Then individual was more important than society. Then more importance was given to individual imagination than logical thinking. They never thought logically. They always thought with their heart. They never thought with their head. Then, more informal language was used by the poets during this age. Informal language means the language of the ordinary people. So, there was no far fetched images, metaphysical conceits, there was no conceits like that. There was no such kind of thing which was taken as studious people language. It was not there. It was always the language of the common man which was given more importance. Then, characteristics of the Romanticism. What is characteristics of the Romanticism? It ignored the rules that was put forward by the critics prior to them. Before them there was Sidney. Before them there was Dryden, Johnson, Alexander Pope, and so on, who put forward certain rules in which they should have to be judged. But Romantic criticism, they took away the rules. They did not want any rules to judge them. And what is the given value? The value was given upon the impression that a work gives upon the mind of the reader. When a work is read, what is the impression? What is the kind of feeling that the reader will have? That was given more importance. And therefore, you can say that Romantic criticism can be called as the Impressionist criticism. Okay, Impressionistic criticism. Then, Romantics actually believed that poetry made uninteresting and familiar things interesting. Romantic poets, you can see certain romantic poets just like William Wordsworth and Samuel Taylor Coleridge. You can see that Wordsworth had written poem on the daffodils. Okay, on the daffodils, or he had written poem on the Tintern Abbey. He had written poem on so many other things. Okay, whatever it is, everything was connected with nature, and this nature was a familiar thing to the reader. But the Romantic poets made the familiar thing unfamiliar. They always made something unfamiliar. There was always a kind of unfamiliarity. Even if we are reading a familiar thing, yet you feel that that familiar thing was unfamiliar for you. That was some of the characteristic, or one of the basic characteristic of the Romantic poet. They found the presence of God in everything found in nature. Everything that was connected to nature, they found God in everything. They were of the view that poetry is a common man's subject, and therefore the language which should be taken for writing this poetry should be a common man's language. Okay, and as they celebrated the life of the common man, they are still regarded as the best poets the world has ever seen. Okay, they are still regarded as the best poets. Now you can see there were two important critical pieces during the Romantic age. The two important critical pieces are Lyrical Ballads by William Wordsworth, written in 1800, rewritten, I should have to say. Then Biographia Literaria by Samuel Taylor Coleridge, which was written in 1817. Then now we take into consideration some of the words of Wordsworth. You can see that according to Wordsworth, poetry is the spontaneous overflow of powerful emotions recollected in tranquility. It is always something that spontaneously flow. Spontaneous means something which flows freely without any external factors. It just flows freely, and that is what Wordsworth says about poetry. This is an important quote you should have to study by heart. What is it? Poetry is the spontaneous overflow of powerful emotions and feelings recollected in tranquility. Poetry is the spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings and emotions recollected in tranquility. Then, in 1800, in the preface to Lyrical Ballads, Wordsworth issued his famous proclamation about the nature of poetry as the spontaneous overflow of powerful emotions. Okay. With this statement, Wordsworth shifted the center of attention from the work as a reflection or imitation of reality to the artist. Therefore, till now, the critics were always demanding that everything that is criticized should be based on the work. But from here on, from the Romantic age, the criticism of the work is diminished. There is always a criticism of the artist and the artist's relationship to the work. There is always the criticism of the artist as well as the artist's relationship to the work. Then, poetry would henceforth be considered as an expression rather than a mimetic art. It is always an expression that is there in poetry, and therefore, poetry is defined as an art which is a mirror. Therefore, poetry is a mirror. Mirror of what? Mirror of the society, mirror of the nature. Is it? No. It is always self reflective. It is the mirror of the artist. An artist is being said here. Therefore, concluding, you can see that the Romantic poet or critic thus began to produce criticism that explained and justified not only creativity itself but also his own creative practices, even his own poetry. You can see that there was always judgment, and explicit explanation that was based on the creativity of the artist. Okay, it is not only the creative factor but also the creativity of the artist as a creative person is being taken into consideration. So with this we come into the closure. Okay, thanks a lot for bearing with me.